Yes, yes. Chidi Njokuani, Nigerian American. He scored a second round KO last night at the UFC Fight Night, the co-main of the night. That makes it 3-0 in his welterweight career so far in the UFC. Josias Musasa, he falls short against Carlos Vera as Carlos Vera submitted him in the first round when Musasa made his UFC debut, obviously after coming through the Dana White Contender Series. Roman Dolidze warns that Khamzat Chimaev could be in trouble against Dricus Du Plessis. Does he have a point? Talk about that. Colby Covington seems to be avoiding Themba Gorimbo. Is he ducking the rising Zimbabwean star? We'll get into that. And finally, UFC and Dana White are furious with ESPN regarding the shambles of the pay-per-view sale of UFC 313. Um, this suggests that the UFC might be on Netflix soon. This and quite a few more, ladies and gentlemen, this is the African Fighters Podcast. This is where we talk all things concerning African fighters. As long as you're waving an African flag and you're under our radar, we'll talk about you. My name is Jibril Aminu from the African Fighters, and today, ladies and gentlemen, it is the one and only man of all ladies, businessman, importer, exporter. He is the tycoon. It is Ebuka Ogbonna from London, England, I must add. What's up, Ebuka?
Yeah, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Again, ladies and gentlemen, you're privileged to watch the tycoon, the business tycoon, and I'm here again to break down the facts, to break down the
I'm going to
topic.
say I'm going to say you should be in the habit of adding any gender in between. If you say ladies and gentlemen and
Hmm.
people of all genders, you should you should add it in there so we can be politically accurate, if you know what I mean.
Okay,
What's up?
okay.
What's up, guys? Thank you for tuning in. If you are just joining in, please hit the like button, subscribe, do all the good things for the African fighters. This episode almost did not happen, but Ebuka was kind enough to hop on, while the other two guys are busy with life. Demola, as you know, the usual face you always see here, is currently on another interview on his own podcast, which is the Kingdoms podcast. Check him out. And our new friend from Boro, Mark from Boro, is unfortunately not available at the moment. But yeah, the show must go on. Any updates on UFC Fight Night in Africa? Themba, the answer Gorimbo is in our live chat. Big shout out to our homeboy. Very, very big supporter of the show. We really, really appreciate you stopping by. Um, I guess we'll get into that UFC Africa Fight Night in
Yeah.
Africa business. And to be honest, Temba, this question you are asking us, we know that you know more than we do.
And
Okay, there
you
you go.
you followed up by putting 11 October. So basically, you're answering
Uh,
your own question.
11 October. All right, Temba, before we actually get into this, can you give us another nugget? Because 11 October, are we looking at Rwanda or Kigali, or are we looking at South Africa? Yes, we would like to hear about that. But if I'm putting my money will be in Rwanda, Kigali, Rwanda, because they've got a beautiful arena out there and they are all for tourism and bringing things there. I think they might just pull this one. Um, yeah, while we are at it, why don't we get into it? Chidi Njokuani, yesterday in the co-main, he landed a brutal knee in the second round. I think he got one of the performance bonuses last night. Incredible, incredible stuff. He landed a knee from the middle and then finished with a ground and pound. He looked like a sniper out there. Here's something you guys don't know. If you don't know, I don't know, you probably should know. Chidi's older brother, Njokuani, the other Njokuani, they are brothers, right? He is the first Nigerian to actually fight in the UFC, right? Chidi's brother, who is up there in age, is now, I believe, a stunt artist or stunt coordinator in Hollywood. So you know those people that take bumps for the stars in movies. He does that. So big shout out to him. Chidi started at the middleweight division, and he after a couple of losses, he came back down to the welterweight division. Now he's 3-0. I'm sure he'll be looking to get into the rankings. If you would ask me, I would say Chidi's motivation, I don't know. I'm just assuming Chidi's motivation would just be get paid and get out of there. I don't
Yeah.
really think he's too motivated to get to that title because it's a long journey to get up there, and most
And
especially the
he's not young.
stacked
Mm.
welterweight division, and also he's getting up there in age. Themba knows about it in the welterweight division. Themba says it's probably going to be Pretoria. Ha! All right. I guess we'll find out. But that is exciting and also not exciting for me because, to be honest, I'm going to tell you guys selfishly, I wanted UFC Africa to be in Rwanda because if it's in Rwanda, I don't need a visa to go there. And there are so many flights going to Kigali from here. So we could easily just go there, but get a holiday package and all of that. But Pretoria is very far, mate. Pretoria is very far. Do you think you might get a chance to go for UFC fight night in Africa if it was in Rwanda, or what do you think the chances are, Ibuka?
I mean, I think it depends on where. Yeah, I would love to. I'd love to make that history to say that I was there for the first
Mm.
UFC Africa. So as long as there's enough time to plan it, it's not like they've done it and given us just a couple months. As long as there's enough time, then yeah, I would definitely love to be there. That would because it will be I think it would be grand. I think people will come from all over the world, depending on where it is, and what time of the year as well. Yeah, definitely love to. We've
We-
waited. I've been watching UFC since the pandemic, and
We've been
Dana has been
getting
saying
promises since the
the next 2
pandemic.
months. Yeah.
We've been getting promises since the pandemic, but unfortunately, it never came to fruition. Themba also had a bit of a nugget here. Rwanda, there is a problem right now, the war in Congo. I understand the war in Congo is a thing, but it's way past their borders. Um, in as much as I know that it's a global problem, it's always in the global news. It doesn't affect Kigali. And I think if there's a better PR move for Rwanda is for them to actually get a UFC event done in Kigali right now when people are thinking that it's going to share. But speaking about Congo, how about a segue? Josias Musasa from Lumumbashi, Congo, had his UFC debut last night in the prelims, very deep in the prelims, against Carlos Vera. Would you know this? If you watched the fight night yesterday, they would have reminded you so many times um, that Musasa was the biggest favorite according to the odd makers going into that fight. He was a minus
Really?
700. And obviously he came out short. The matchmakers looked at his record, say he's 8-0 and he's got 7 finishes. He's got dynamite in his hand. Obviously, I've seen it firsthand. I've attended a Musasa fight before. I've seen Musasa fight Gas Mediata, which, to be honest,
Yeah.
in my life of watching fights in the arena physically, that's the best fight I've ever seen. That was in 2023 in Lagos. I saw that. And going into this fight, he was coming up against a veteran, Musasa, 26 years old, Carlos Vera, 37. There was a lot of like experience versus raw talent going on. And you could see when the fight started, obviously fight ended in first round. When the fight started, Carlos Vera was on his back, the jiu-jitsu pose, trying to like invite grappling, but Musasa would ask the ref to get him back up. But but poetically, the guy that is not trying to grapple got rocked by a head kick.
Hmm.
Carlos Vera caught him with a head kick and then jumped down, grabbed his back, jumped to his back, and finished him with a
Finished.
renegade choke. Even though after the head kick, Musasa was still trying to fight the hands when Vera got his back, but there's a lot of uh adjustments that needs to be done. I'm sure Moza, who is the coach and manager of Musasa, is a very smart guy. I'm sure they are still working.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's one thing I would not agree with actually. Musasa and his coach Moza would they are still living and training in Congo. And I think that they should allow Musasa to spend some time up in America, maybe in a gym or maybe go somewhere else. Because back in Lumumbashi, the gym they fight at, Musasa is like one of the best there. There isn't anybody that is up in his level. So he needs to get
Yeah.
out of there, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, that's true. I was gonna say, is there possibility here of some level of naivety on his part, some level of maybe levels? It's a huge leap. It's a huge, even though yesterday they were fighting at the apex with little crowd, but it's still a very huge leap. Going from AKO to the UFC. So yeah, you're right. I think he needs to now, since he's now based in America. If even if he's not, he should try and maybe set up camp there, go to a proper gym, join a proper, because he's really really talented. The guy is good. Go to a proper gym, let them brush him up. If he can go to somewhere like Extreme Couture, I wouldn't know how difficult or not it would be to get into a gym like that, so that
You know,
Eric,
I'm
can.
going to say we don't really know what they are doing. They probably are already training in these big gyms because
Mm,
after he got signed in Dana White Contender Series, Dana did say he's got his raw and he needs to train more, come out here and train. And even Usman said the same thing. So I
mm.
am just assuming that they probably have started doing something like that, or if they haven't, they certainly have plans to kind of like come down in America and train because oh
Now
god.
sleep they catch you.
I'm on asleep, they catch me, oh. Because
Mm,
those big gyms there, even the UFC PI, Themba knows more. Themba trains and lives there right now. He bounces between Las Vegas and Miami, even though it's a very long travel. But I think it's probably in their radar, to be honest, because it only makes sense coming from me. Yeah, so going back to the UFC Africa thing, Themba thinks that he says, no, bro, the instability is something the UFC don't want. So the UFC would not want to be involved in so much chaos going on like that. Yeah, I agree. However, this might sound a little bit unconventional. And if you are South African, you probably would not enjoy the next words that come out from my mouth. If you are white South African, you probably wouldn't enjoy it. Because the way what I'm looking at is if the UFC do a show in Pretoria, they'll sell the tickets. I think there's a Sunbet Arena there. They'll sell the tickets. It's about what, 9,000 capacity arena.
mm.
However, in my opinion, the issue is if the UFC wants to go to Africa, they would want it to look like Africa. But if they go to Pretoria, Pretoria will be a dominant, like a Dricus crowd, and it will be dominantly white, and that would not scream Africa to like the promotions, because promotionally, the UFC would want to be like, we are in Africa, it should look like Africa.
Yeah,
That makes sense. And that wouldn't be the case if they do it in Pretoria, but I stand by saying they're already taking it to Pretoria. Um, yeah, I guess we'll see how
I
that
mean,
promotion will look like.
it also depends on who is willing to pay up and sponsor certain things. Don't forget, it also depends on maybe the local council or the government that is willing to pay up something. You know how Dana and UFC are with, when
Mm.
they go somewhere, they want to ensure that they are able to get sponsors there, like maybe local sponsors that they can work with to ease off certain things for them.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
so
it's
who
currently
knows?
the same the model they are using. UFC is
Yeah.
under the umbrella of TKO, which is the overall owners of WWE as well. When they travel to cities outside of the US, they always get, as you mentioned, sponsored. Maybe the local government or the tourism board would invite them.
Sure.
So um uh, I don't know if South Africa would pay. It could be a charity case. because when the UFC go to Brazil, I highly doubt if the Brazilian government would pay them to come. However, if the government would make it easy for them to come, I think that would go a long way as well, because South Africa is very far from America, right? It's like end and end of the world, right? Down south and up north. And it's not easy to fly with your promotional materials. I'm talking about the cage. I'm talking about um honestly, the UFC setup is not all that compared to the WWE, but like bringing all your resources to South Africa is going to be a big task.
Mm,
However, uh, if the government will make it easy for them, I guess that wouldn't be a big deal. I remember there was a time that WWE was doing this show Elimination Chamber in Australia, and there was almost a disaster that happened. It was around last year. It was around the time that there was this huge pandemic of pirates,
mm.
and the shipment of the elimination chamber cage and the ring and all those things for WWE was almost seized, and there was like a big delay with the whole piracy thing going on the waters. It almost became a disaster. So I'm just leaving that nugget out there, but I really think TKO thinking that they are like a global thing, right? They are a global promotion. I think going to South Africa would be a big, big promotional opportunity for them, even if they lose money. Because I think in Brazil, when they go to Brazil, I don't think they get paid going there, because Brazil, again, as I said, they wouldn't care to pay,
I mean, but you
even
wouldn't
though
know that. You wouldn't know that. It's about. It doesn't have to be the government. Don't forget.
you know
Maybe
why you know why
company.
you know why I think so, because
Mm,
the tickets in Brazil are extremely cheap and they don't sell them out. So
mm,
I don't think the demand is there as much. However, they have to do it for the fighters, because like
yeah, there are lots of
they've
Brazilian
got
fighters.
they've got more
Brazil.
Brazilian fighters than anybody. Right now, as
Yeah,
I'm talking to you, they have more Brazilian champions than US champions in the
yeah.
UFC. So like they already have that. So they have to go to Brazil. I don't
Hmm.
think I think they lose money going there. However, they need to make the fans happy and the champions happy, in my opinion. I'm just spitballing here. But if you're Brazilian, you probably would know better. But yeah, as Themba said, it's not confirmed yet. It's just a plan. However, we've seen this UFC Africa plan turn on its head a couple of times. We heard Senegal, we heard Kigali, and now it's heavily rumored to be
And
South
even Ivory
Africa.
Coast as
And
well.
if you ask me, my favorite place for them to go would be Senegal. I always wanted to go to Senegal, and I think if they had gone to Senegal, I probably would hop on a flight to Dakar. Yeah. Um, moving on. As you know, thank you. Big shout out to everybody tuning in. Please, as you are here, hit the like button. Doesn't take anything. It's very, very free. Um, I'm gonna hop on this Dricus news. Okay. So Roman Dolidze, obviously, who won the main event yesterday, UFC Fight Night, he explains why Khamzat Chimaev could be in trouble against Dricus Du Plessis. Um, Ahead of his clash against Marvin Vittori, Dolidze gave his thoughts about the state of the middleweight division, and he said that the Caucasian finds himself ranked 12th in the middleweight division and Vittori ranked 8th, with the top of the division being somewhat full of older contenders coming off losses such as Israel Adesanya, Robert Whittaker, and Sean Strickland. Dolidze believe there is a new era coming through. I think there is a new era. The era is changing, and I will say there are a lot of guys who already deserve to fight for the titles, but there are so many that they need to be in line and it takes time. All these guys need to fight. They can't just wait. Dolidze told Bloody Elbow in an exclusive interview. He also says that the champion of the division, Dricus Du Plessis, will likely defend his title against Khamzat Chimaev next, with the fight continuously rumored. Many fans are not giving Still Knox a chance in the fight against Chimaev due to continued dominance. However, Dolidze believes that Boz Chimaev, that is, could find himself in trouble. After his fight against Whitaker, I would say yes, he deserves to fight the title. It was an impressive win. I always wanted to fight against Hamza. He truly deserves now to fight for the title. It won't be an easy fight for either of them. I'm very interested in the fight. Hamza is a fighter who can take down anybody, but I don't think he can finish everybody on the ground. And when he can't finish, then he gets in trouble because he gets gassed out. Maybe he can win in earlier rounds, but after that, he'll probably have a problem. He continued. Um, yeah. Do you share the same sentiment as Dolidze with regards to him not being, him going to be in trouble against Dricus? Because there's this thing about fighters, right? With being invisible. If a fighter has not lost for so long,
Yeah.
I'm sure in the fighter's head, he's going to be he's going to start feeling invisible, right? This cannot happen to me. Or like
Yeah.
maybe when they get knocked out, they start imagining how did this happen? I thought I was invisible and all of that. So that happens in the fighter's head. And then what happens in the head of the fans, which is us, is we cannot wrap our brains around a fighter losing when they've won so many times. I take you back to when Kamaru Usman got knocked out by Leon Edwards. When the camera panned to the front row, everybody's jaw was on the floor because like they never thought they would see something like that. The reason why I'm bringing this up is I'm trying to relate this with Khamzat Chimaev and Dricus. I feel the same for both fighters. I cannot see either of them losing, right? I cannot see Khamzat getting knocked out or Dricus getting submitted or knocked out. So, however, I'm leaning towards what Dolidze think. I think if that fights go on, I'm going to favor Dricus with this one because I don't see Hamza ragdolling Dricus. We've never seen Dricus fight defensively as a wrestler before. However, I cannot bring myself to think that Hamza can have his
That's,
way with Dricus. What do
that's
you
why it's
think?
gonna be a good fight.
Yeah.
Simple as that. That's why it's gonna be a tough, tight matchup. That's why it's gonna be, incredible. And that's why that fight needs to happen quickly as possible before it loses its steam or something happens. I mean, we've seen that Hamzat is human, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So remember he had this invisibility about him. Oh, I can't kill everybody. At some point, this guy is a god. Like this guy is. Well, Gilbert Burns. We saw the performance against Gilbert Burns. We saw him against Usman. That is, a few years ahead above him. Usman, people even saying that Usman would have won that fight. Definitely, Prime Usman would have won that fight.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Or
Not
even
forgetting Usman came off the couch to fight to be in that
exactly
fight.
on 2 weeks' notice as well. So we've seen that
Mm.
he's human. So and that's why I think Dracos, you're right. I think I agree with you that Dracos for me is probably the slight favorite going into that one. But yeah, who knows? It's gonna be an interesting fight. Let them make it and let's see who's
Yeah,
really the
another issue with that fight is the fact that Hamza cannot travel everywhere. It's been documented that he's got some travel restrictions, and he's sort of like the cash cow for the Middle East now. So like the UFC going to the Middle East, they get Hamza to be the main event, Hamza or Islam. So we've got the Saudis now being in business with the UFC. Hamza can be the guy that always main events the Saudi cards if he becomes champion, or if he's going to fight Dricus. We might see Dricus fighting in Saudi Arabia for the first pay-per-view in Saudi Arabia, because the UFC only went there twice for fight night events. We might see Dricus fighting in Saudi, who knows, or Abu Dhabi.
yeah.
Yeah.
On that point, he recently, I think, I saw on social media, he recently obtained the passport of, is it Saudi Arabia or something? I think so.
UAE passport, is that the
UAE,
one?
yeah, UAE. So he
Mm.
recently got UAE passport. So I mean, just assuming off the top of my head, there must be a reason for it. Maybe that might
I
help
don't
him
think
with his travel.
I don't think it's about his passport, because if he had a passport, it would likely be a Swedish or a Russian passport.
Mm.
And no Swedish fighter has issues going to America. No Russian fighter has issues going to America, because we've seen all the Russian fighters obviously go there and fight. I think it's his relationship with one of the leaders in that Dagestani area. There's a leader that
Mm,
has beef with America. So
mm,
because he's like body pals with that guy,
mm,
the I think American government thinks he's gonna be a threat coming in because
mm.
they think he might be up to something for that guy they don't like. I can't remember the guy's name. It's very political. Um but anyways, it's a fight we would love to see. Cannot wait.
Yeah,
My mouth is watering for that one. To be honest, I actually want to see that fight more than I want to see John Jones versus Tom Aspinall. But
yeah,
if we say John Jones versus Alex Pereira, that's a different question. That's a different topic. But definitely the fight I want to see all year this year, Dricus Khamzat Chimaev, and I believe our our African people want to see that as well. All right, let's go into this next one. This is a controversial one. Themba, we probably still have you here. While we have Themba here, we want to touch into a topic that went under our radar mostly because we were inactive. All right. So it has been documented that when Themba came to America, Themba was good friends with one guy called Colby Covington, the arch nemesis of Kamaru Usman, right? So Themba came to America. The first gym he trained at, I think that's called MMA Masters. He was living in the gym. It was very famously documented, living on a sofa in the gym, sleeping on a sofa. And at the time, Kobe Covington was training in that gym. And Kobe and Themba had a rapport. They became friends. Or I don't know any word to qualify if they don't, they became their good buddies at the time. And even Themba even actually came out and said things around, oh, Kobe is kind of like misunderstood. He's actually a nice guy. Um, then he also mentioned that Kobe brought some food for him when he was at the gym and all of that. All right. So fast forward a couple of months later, Yawa Kongas. Our people will say Yawa Gas. One or two things happened. I think around the time that Kobe fought Leon Edwards, that's when we started hearing rumblings. I believe we also heard from Themba at the time that um, Kobe was acting weird when he was in camp for Leon Edwards because he felt that Themba would snitch on him to Leon Edwards because Themba is good friends with Leon Edwards. And then he treated Themba Gorimbo not very nicely in Themba's words.
mm,
So I'm not sure which is the straw that broke the camel's back. Abi, is that how they say the thing? I'm not
mm,
sure what, but this is one of the things that had happened at the time. And also, remember when Kobe said some nasty things about Leon's dad, even though Leon's dad is dead? Remember that time? Obviously,
mhm,
Themba wasn't happy with that. I don't know if Themba confronted him. I'm not sure. I can't confirm that. However, I know Themba was not happy with that. Neither anybody, because like we understand it's a fight, it's a promotion to a fight, but there are lines you can't cross, and that was one of those lines, unfortunately. However, I'm just giving you guys a backstory of what happened recently. Recently, at the top of the show, I did mention that Themba now trains in the UFC PI. And now Colby Covington is a streamer. If you don't know what a streamer is, we are currently streaming. But there's this thing called ILR streamers. Sorry, IRL streamers, which is in real life streamers. So what they do is they just like Speed, I Show Speed, Kai Sinat do, they have a camera following them and then they'll be engaging with people making entertaining content. And Kobe started doing that. And here is something you don't know. Celebrities, when they start going down the drain, we learned this from Tekashi 69's case. Tekashi 69 is bankrupt now. And one of the cases that was filed against him was he collected $2 million for from one of the streaming sites, one of the streaming company to stream on their platform. And he was like, the deal was for him to stream on their platform, I think 1 hour per week, and he only did it 1 week and then stopped doing it, and they wanted their money back. So Kobe Covington now being a streamer, we know why he's being a streamer now. he has signed something somewhere. I'm certain about that.
Mhm.
So now, before his altercation with Themba, I saw one a bit from his stream where he was in the PI during one of the fight night, and Kamaru Usman does one of those UFC broadcast business. He ran into Usman, and and like he came over to Usman, and then they dapped each other up. And then when they dapped each other up, before Usman came into the frame, he told Usman like, "Yo, I'm streaming," right? And Usman came and they dapped each other, and Usman walked past. And then when Usman walked past, then Kobe turned to the camera and started talking shit about Usman again,
Yeah.
right? So he started putting on that facade that he does. However, if you are live streaming, you have to try to be entertaining, because it's going to be boring. Nobody's going to stay on your live and watch you, or even drop all those emojis that you make money with. So now, on this fateful day, Themba was making content in the UFC PI, and then he wanted to go train. And as you know, I say Themba, Kobe, he wanted to go train. So he got to the UFC PI, and he found Themba training, and then sharply he just turned around and faced the other way. You know what? I'm just gonna share my screen and show you the video. I think I think that's better. All right. Here we go. All right. So this is the video. So this is to the gym. He sees Themba and turns around and walks the other way, and he goes up the stairs. And then he said, "You saw who was that? It's that ungrateful Emma that we used to feed."
Yeah. Oh, you see, this might be Kobe just trying to cause some controversy as well. Don't
Mm-hmm.
forget that it's possible that there's really nothing here.
No,
You know.
dude, dude, I know there is something here. Yeah, there is definitely something here, because, oh well, okay, if there's nothing here, Temba would not jump into being like, let's fight. Temba will probably feed into more of the content, because Nigerians call it content. They are making content. He's making content, Abby. If this is content, the response from Temba would not be let's fight. Oh, by the way, I'm just going to tell you how Temba responded to that. Okay. So there is a response from Temba.
Oh, does Temba have a response as well? Oh, that means
Yeah.
I'm
So
not.
Temba, yeah. So
Well,
Temba tweeted.
Temba, let
Temba,
Temba tell us in the comment section.
wait,
Is
wait,
this a
wait,
real
wait.
thing or
I
is
have
this?
I have a I have a tweet here. Temba says, "I like you, Kobe. No need to be scared, my guy. But yeah, if you feel or ever feel like I'm an easy fight, please don't hesitate to call me out. I know you desperately need a win and won't take a fight in the rankings, and you think I am easier fight for you. On the flip side, I desperately want to be in the rankings, and I see you to be an easy way for me. However, I ain't naive that I have to work to do. I have work to do, but hey, we can bend the rules for once, maybe, just so the fans can see what happened in our training sessions. Bless Kobe. Next time, say hi. I promise I am just ugly, but I don't bite."
Themba
So
Gorimbo,
That
the
was
answer.
Temba's tweet responding to that video. Um, so I think it's for real, for real. Um,
Hmm.
However, there's another nugget to this story, right? After that, I don't have the extracts here, but Dricus Du Plessis responded, and the way he responded, he was attacking Themba and Themba's personality, and Themba responded back to Dricus. And to be honest, the only person, which is, as we know, Themba can be a hothead, but in this whole scenario of Kobe, Themba, and Dricus, Themba was the only one that kept a cool head. Everybody was fired because, like, uh, Kobe was disrespectful towards Themba. Themba did not disrespect him back.
Hmm.
Then Dricus Du Plessis, in the comment, he did respond as well, saying something about everybody leaves Themba, da 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 da. Everybody that knows him. So unprovoked, Dricus Du Plessis was disrespectful to Themba, and Themba's response was also respectful because Themba was talking in the lines of like, we have to leave Africa, we have to go better ourselves, blah blah blah, brotherhood, all this stuff. So if you ask me, the negativity I'm seeing is spewing from both guys. However, this is something I long for. This is something I live for. As a pro wrestling fan, I love to see storylines. You understand? And I would love to see both sides feeding into the storyline. And I think that I'm just thinking about it, right? I think that if Colby starts his stream and runs into Themba, I think they're going to make great content together.
Yeah,
Not like that exchange is gonna be exciting as fuck. So it's gonna help in the build up if they eventually going to fight, which I would
yeah.
love to see.
Next time
Because I would love.
you shouldn't run away.
I'm not a big Colby Covington fight fan when he fights. However, I enjoy to see him lose. And what better way is like getting double dose of enjoyment if Themba is the guy that beats him. You understand? Because Usman might be over Themba, might be over Kobe when they fought. They fought twice, and there are so many things that Kobe said. But on Usman's behalf, I am still mad at Kobe for saying the things he said. He said so many things about Nigerians. He said things about Usman's dad being a criminal. He said so many obnoxious things, and I'm still carrying the anger on my head for that. However, I also heard that Kobe wants to get into pro wrestling as well. I don't know how true that one is. But if he can, he should, because he can talk on the microphone. You got thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, they should the fight is on. The fight should be on. I'm not sure Kobe has a fight now. And obviously Themba, I think his last fight against the Brazilian guy,
Vicente
you know,
Luque.
Vicente Luque. It's been a while now. I think that was in November, wasn't it? Was it November or October last year?
I think it was December. That December
Is that,
card, the one that
is,
Nick Diaz was supposed to
yeah.
be on.
So yeah,
Mhm.
December. So it's what, 3 months now. So yeah, they can get that fight done for sometime in May or even ending of April. May, June. Yeah, let them get that
Mm.
fight so they can have a good camp and do that fight. I think it will be a good one. I think Kobe talks. I mean, we know Kobe. I don't really take him serious, to be honest, because it's obvious that he's playing a character. I'm sure you've also seen the video where he met Usman, where it
Mhm.
looks like, and then he was going to say hi to Usman, wanting to shake him. In fact, Usman basically pied him in that video. So, and then he
Mm.
came back to his character. So he's obvious that Colby just plays a character on the camera. We know that already. So yeah, let them get that fight on and let's see. Let's see who is on top, who's gonna win.
All
Simple as
right.
that.
All right. Big shout out Themba. I would love to see Themba and Kobe fight because the placement will be very high on the card.
Yeah,
And that would be the most views that Themba is going to get. And I would love to see Themba finish that
yeah,
guy, man.
that'll be a good one. Yeah.
All right.
Hmm.
Moving on, the last topic, which is something that we touched on last week, but we didn't get a chance to because we passed our 1 hour mark last week before we got to it. It's UFC and the star problem. However, today, after 1 week, there were some things that came out that I think gives us a few more nuggets about what's going on with the UFC. So there's this headline here coming to you from transcripts from Outkick.com. UFC and Dana White are furious with ESPN Plus being a disaster. The UFC might move to Netflix. So the UFC is reportedly so angry with ESPN Plus that it's currently making moves to potentially sign a broadcasting deal with another streaming platform such as Netflix in the near future.
Hmm.
According to Eric Richer of the New York Post, the MMA company believes that ESPN has not held up its end of the bargain that included 5-year exclusive broadcasting right partnership that started in 2019. As part of agreement, ESPN, ESPN Plus, and ESPN entities would have exclusive broadcast rights to UFC pay-per-views and events. It has not gone according to plan whatsoever, with frequent streaming issues, dropouts, connection issues, as well as a tremendous amount of lag. The final straw was last weekend's Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev PPV, in which the tech issues were literally unbearable and the UFC fighters themselves ripping the network. So if you don't know, a lot of people couldn't purchase the pay-per-view 2 weeks ago for UFC
Yeah.
313. So the thing is, if you look at it business wise, currently the biggest star the UFC have that is active is Alex Pereira. And Alex Pereira is fighting. The UFC are looking to make money from the pay-per-view. The fighters are looking to make money with the pay-per-view points. But turns out that people couldn't buy the pay-per-view due to issues, technical issues with ESPN.
Yeah.
Obviously, the UFC will be pissed about that, right? And the article continues, and it says the UFC will reportedly be doing everything in their power to get streaming deal with Netflix and leave ESPN. So as you know, WWE, who is in business with the UFC, they are
Yeah.
co-owned,
Yeah.
is also on Netflix right now. They started in January, which I absolutely love. As a pro wrestling fan, I have everything in one place. Like I've got Raw, SmackDown, NXT, all the exclusive live events they do is all under one place. And like, for example, UFC and WWE were in Barcelona for SmackDown this weekend, and it streamed live on Netflix during
So
at
it's
8 p.m., which was perfect. Like, it's incredible. It's so incredible. Anyways, going back, ESPN, which most recently have announced it will be dropping Major League Baseball, ooh, to focus on WNBA, NBA, NCAA football, and NFL. So ESPN Plus are leaving the baseball business, and they would likely leave the UFC business because here's the thing: UFC is not happy with ESPN because of the network issues, and ESPN as well is not happy with the UFC because of the lack of star power, and the sales of pay-per-views is not what it used to be. People have tremendously dropped in buying pay-per-views in the UFC, and
mm,
that is due to the star power. The thing I was
yeah.
mentioning the other time last week. So it's hand in hand because I'm sure the UFC want a payment increase in the right deal, right? The
But
payment fees
ESPN
for the
doesn't
right
want
for the
that.
broad.
So
But the ESPN will be like, justify why we should give you more money, right? Because the WWE just signed a $5 billion deal with Netflix. ES, UFC will feel like they should get more than WWE, right? But ESPN will be like, yo guys, what are you giving me? Like literally, which fight is the biggest fight you can do for me this year? Right? Is it Thomas Pinal and John Jones? And John Jones doesn't want to fight Thomas Pinal. He's playing hardball. Right? There's nothing left that the UFC can provide to ESPN saying this is what we
yeah.
have. This is the drawing power we have.
Mm.
So
Dana, yeah. To be fair, Dana has hinted at a lot of things. Streaming is the future now.
mhm.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that deal ends. If they don't bring in, if they don't renew, basically. I think he's talked about YouTube before. You also have Prime there as well. Prime is also, in the picture. Which other one? I think there was, yeah, of course, Netflix is also in the picture, of course. So
Mhm.
these are options. These are really options that they can go, yeah, they can go through any of these places, and they're gonna probably get maybe more than they're
you
getting
know,
now. Like YouTube,
you
for
know what?
instance, is
Mm,
you know,
you know what I think? What I think is that pay-per-view model is so old school and so outdone right now.
mm,
With the way pay-per-view used to work before, it used to be a big deal. Now, many sports and many events have moved away from pay-per-view. As you know, as you mentioned earlier, streaming is the way forward right now. And if the streaming platforms are okay with giving you a certain amount of money, you wouldn't care about selling pay-per-views again because
yeah,
now I don't think that would favor the UFC, and that would favor the fans. And hear me out. If the UFC are trying to build stars so that people would be motivated to actually pay to see the stars, that is pay for this pay-per-view. We're talking about American viewers, because
Mm-hmm.
everywhere else in the world they barely pay extra to watch the UFC. But American viewers, right? If the UFC are no longer motivated in forcing people to go and watch pay-per-view by building stars and actually getting them to go to the arenas and actually getting them to pay to watch them,
To fight, yeah.
solemnly, because they've already collected their money upfront from the streamers. If they've collected the money from Netflix, they don't care about putting on like a massive card or this guy fighting this guy. And also the fact that Dana White is involved in boxing now, right? His attention is very divided. I
Yeah.
feel I feel like the popularity of the UFC, this is a prediction. If they don't sit up and try to build more stars, it's going to continue dwindling in the next couple of years, because they are not there's no young person. There's literally no young person that you can call like this is a certified draw that would fly the
Mm.
UFC banner. Nobody is there anymore.
A lot of them have been
Everybody is
taken
very
out. People like Sean. Sean has been
mm,
taken out. And you're right, a lot of these champions now are not people that are characters as well. That's
mhm.
another issue that they are having. A lot of these champions are not kind. Look at Pantoja. Yeah, Merab is trying, but then his division as well is not. If you come up to like the bigger divisions, look at Ankalev. Look at well, John Jones is not really as active as before. At welterweight, you have remember the name. Uh, so
Bilal,
people like this,
Bilal,
these are
Bilal,
not pros.
Bilal that wanted to enter the UFC cage the other day and it bounced him.
Yeah, so you're right. It's a big issue. And just before I forget, the thought that came to my head when you were talking about the boxing. So it's being rumored as well that BBC's contract with is it BBC? No, not PBC. This top ranks
Mhm.
boxing contract with ESPN is
Mhm.
coming to an end. I think it's very soon.
They're
So
not sending a
that
new one.
yeah, and they're not renewing. They're moving to Prime full time. So
Mhm.
now it's now being rumored that Dana White is going to continue with ESPN for boxing.
Mm.
So these are some of the
Yeah, I know,
dynamics.
I know, I know,
Yeah.
I know. They are actively in negotiations for broadcasting deals for the new boxing league that they don't even have a name for yet. The
Hmm.
guys at TKO want to call it TKO boxing, but Dana doesn't like it. I don't know what they are going to call it. But yeah, right now, the branding of that event, the thing I'm most interested about is what are they going to call the boxing league, and we are here for it to follow it. I've finally become a boxing fan now because I like one promotion to centralize everything for me, not like boxing that has 1 million promotions and 1 million title belts.
Hmm.
All right. We've come to the end of the show, guys. Um, I already told you that this was going to be a quick one. Thank you to everyone that tuned in. Big shout out Themba Gorimbo. We cannot wait for the UFC matchmakers and Kobe to actually want to make this fight. With Kobe, would love to see that. We are here for that. If
Yeah, that would
see,
be a good one.
you know what? If even with Temba's last loss, I think Temba versus Kobe can be a main event in Africa.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the South Africans would want that, and that would be a very big FU to them, because Temba and Kobe will sell the hell out of that main event if it happens, right? In Africa. But I don't think Temba would want a main event in South Africa, because he has been saying he doesn't want to fight in South Africa anyways.
No,
Um
they won't. They won't. They won't. They won't make that fight. Even if they make it, it won't be as maybe co-main, but not main. No,
those
they
those
won't.
are
They
those
won't
are those
headline
South
it.
Africans, they don't like Temba. But with Kobe there, ah, because I'm trying to understand, if they don't like Temba, would they boo Kobe that will come and start insulting
Co-
them?
Kobe will be. Kobe would cause trouble. Oh. because he'll come and say nonsense that will make how our brothers can be. They can scatter the whole arena. The kind of thing he said in Brazil, he can't say such in Africa. He's going to cause trouble.
Honestly, if it's not going to be in South Africa, I think Themba and Kobe is the right main event. But to be honest, I think the person that deserves a main event in Africa the most is Usman.
Yeah,
Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We really, really appreciate you. This is the African Fighters Podcast. I am Jibril, and with me, you've just heard the business tycoon, the man with the mind of money. Thank you very much, Ebuka. Really, really appreciate you. And
welcome.
ladies and gentlemen, signing out.